Stop everything. Bruno Mars just brought back Dance With Me as the encore at MetLife Stadium. And after everything that has happened between Bruno and Karol G this month, that choice suddenly feels a lot more emotional. Night 45 of the romantic tour has delivered one of those moments fans will be talking about long after the stadium lights go out. At MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, Bruno Mars returned to the encore with Dance With Me, turning the final moments of the show into a celebration that felt bigger than just another song in the setlist. And yes, there is one question that is impossible to ignore tonight. Did Dance With Me make fans think about Karol G? Before we get into that connection, make sure you stay with us because the timing of this performance is what makes the moment so interesting. Bruno Mars and Karol G have just entered one of the most talked about chapters of their musical partnership, and the emotional meaning behind their recent collaboration still has made every romantic moment surrounding Bruno feel even more closely watched. If you are a Bruno Mars fan, a Karol G fan, or simply following the romantic tour, hit like, subscribe, and tell us in the comments. When Bruno brought back Dance With Me, did you immediately think about Karol G? Because tonight, the story is not simply about one song returning. It is about timing. It is about emotion. And it is about how one performance can suddenly make fans connect two completely different moments in an artist's career. MetLife Stadium was already charged with anticipation before Bruno Mars even appeared on stage. The August 22nd performance is the second of 4 scheduled Bruno Mars concerts at the massive East Rutherford venue, following the opening night performance on August 21st and leading into the August 25th and August 26th shows. Ticketmaster lists Bruno Mars, RAYE, and Anderson.Paak performing as DJ P.We for the MetLife dates. But once the show reached its final stretch, the atmosphere changed. The crowd had already experienced the polished spectacle that defines the romantic tour. The lights, the band, the choreography, the musicianship, the old favorites, the new material, and Bruno's unmistakable ability to move between pop, soul, funk, R&B, and romance had transformed MetLife Stadium into something closer to a giant dance floor. Then came the moment. The show appeared to be reaching its conclusion. The energy dropped just enough to make the audience wonder whether the night was really over. And then Bruno returned. Dance With Me. For fans who have been following the tour closely, the return was immediately significant. An encore is never just another song. It is the final emotional statement of the night. It is the moment when an artist chooses exactly how they want thousands of people to remember the concert. And that is why Dance With Me returning at night 45 instantly became a talking point. Because the song carries a completely different weight when it appears at the end of the night. Instead of being just another performance inside a massive stadium production, it becomes the goodbye, the final dance, the final smile, the final romantic image before the lights come back up. And tonight, that image arrived at an especially interesting moment in Bruno Mars' career. Just days ago, Bruno Mars and Karol G created one of the biggest crossover stories in pop music when they performed their new collaboration, Still Together, in Los Angeles. Karol G released her album No Me Arrepiento de Sentir Tanto on August 7, 2026. The 14-track project includes Still, featuring Bruno Mars, and Universal Music describes the album as an emotionally driven project exploring love, heartbreak, longing, anger, hope, and healing. Still is also Karol G's first fully English-language recording. And then came the surprise. During Karol G's sold-out Los Angeles run at SoFi Stadium, Bruno Mars joined her on stage for a live performance of Still, with cameras rolling for what was reported as footage for the song's official music video. That performance changed the conversation. Suddenly, Still was no longer just a studio collaboration. It became a live moment. Bruno and Karol G were standing together in front of a stadium audience, performing a song built around the idea of love that refuses to completely disappear. And that is where the connection to Dance With Me becomes fascinating. Not because there is confirmed evidence that Bruno selected Dance With Me specifically because of Karol G. There isn't. And that distinction matters. There has been no official statement from Bruno Mars saying that the encore was chosen as a message to Karol G. There has been no confirmed announcement suggesting that Dance With Me is directly connected to Still, but emotionally, fans are making the connection themselves. And that is what makes tonight's moment so interesting, because Bruno has spent much of this era leaning into romance, vulnerability, nostalgia, and the complicated side of love. The romantic tour is built around that emotional universe. Dance With Me fits naturally inside it. Still fits inside it too. Different songs, different performances, different artists, but the same emotional territory. Love, longing, connection, the desire to stay close to someone, and the fear that something beautiful might disappear. Karol G herself has described the emotional world behind Still as deeply personal. The song explores the feeling of continuing to love and remember someone even when the future is uncertain. So imagine the timing. August 15th. Bruno Mars appears with Karol G in Los Angeles. They perform Still. The audience witnesses their collaboration in a stadium. The performance becomes part of the ongoing conversation around both artists. And just days later, Bruno is back at MetLife Stadium. Night 45, New Jersey. Thousands of fans. And Dance With Me returns as the encore. That is why fans are watching this moment differently. Not necessarily because they believe Bruno is sending a secret message, but because the music itself suddenly feels connected. Zoom in on the moment. The stage lights. The crowd. Bruno at the center. The band behind him. The final song of the night. The stadium singing and dancing together. And underneath all of that is a simple question. What does Bruno Mars want his audience to feel when he says goodbye? That question is more important than any rumor. Because Bruno has always understood something that very few stadium performers understand. A concert is not just a collection of songs. It is a sequence of emotions. The opening tells you where you are. The middle tells you why you came. And the encore tells you what you are supposed to remember. Tonight, Dance With Me became that memory. And for longtime Bruno Mars fans, the return is particularly powerful because encore choices can become part of a tour's identity. Every time a song disappears from a set list, fans notice. Every time it returns, they notice even more. That is especially true for a tour as closely followed as the romantic tour. The tour has already become a major stadium spectacle, with Bruno bringing his catalog and his new music into enormous venues across the United States and internationally. The MetLife run itself consists of 4 performances, giving New Jersey fans multiple opportunities to experience the production. But tonight was different. Tonight had history behind it, because this is not simply another Bruno Mars concert. It is Night 45, and Night 45 now has its own headline. Dance With Me is back. Think about what that means for the fans who have followed every stage of this tour. They have watched Bruno change the pacing. They have watched songs come and go. They have watched different openers and special guests become part of the experience. They have watched the tour evolve from city to city. And now, in East Rutherford, a familiar romantic moment has returned at exactly the place where the night is supposed to end. That is powerful storytelling without Bruno needing to say a single extra word. The song speaks for itself. And then there is Karol G. Her presence in this story is impossible to ignore because the Bruno Mars and Karol G collaboration is still fresh. Still was released only weeks into this new chapter of their careers, and it represents a significant artistic move for Karol G because the song is entirely in English. The collaboration also gives Bruno another opportunity to explore the emotional, romantic side of his songwriting. And Bruno did not simply appear on the track as a feature. Reports on the collaboration note that he contributed creatively to the song alongside members of his longtime writing and production circle. Then came their live performance. And that is where fans saw something they could not experience from the studio recording alone. They saw Bruno and Karol sharing the same stage. They saw the visual chemistry. They heard the song in a live stadium environment. And they watched the cameras capture the moment. That performance happened in Los Angeles. Tonight, Bruno is in New Jersey. Two stadiums, two cities, two very different moments, but both connected by the same artist, and perhaps the same emotional theme. This is where the story gets even more interesting, because still asks a question about what remains after love changes. Dance with Me feels like an invitation to live in the moment. One looks backward, the other pulls you forward. One is about holding onto a feeling, the other is about sharing it. And Bruno Mars has built much of his musical identity around that exact tension. The romance is not always perfect. The heartbreak is not always hidden. The joy is not always simple. But the music makes you want to dance anyway. That is Bruno Mars. That is the world of the romantic tour. And that is why tonight's encore works. The crowd doesn't need an explanation. They feel it. The first beat hits. The audience reacts. The energy rises. Phones go into the air. People who thought the show was ending suddenly realize they have one more moment. One more dance. One more Bruno Mars performance. And the stadium becomes alive again. This is the kind of moment that makes a stadium concert feel intimate despite the enormous scale. Thousands of people can be watching the same performance, but each person can attach a different memory to it. Maybe someone is thinking about an old relationship. Maybe someone is remembering the first time they heard Bruno Mars. Maybe someone is celebrating a new relationship. Maybe someone simply wants to dance. And after Bruno's recent collaboration with Karol G, some fans will inevitably hear the romantic undertones differently. That does not mean the song is secretly about Karol G. It means music creates associations, and fans are allowed to connect the dots emotionally, even when there is no official confirmation behind the theory. That distinction keeps the story grounded, because the most exciting part of tonight does not require a rumor. The performance itself is enough. Bruno Mars returned to Dance With Me. He brought it back to the encore, and he did it in front of a massive MetLife Stadium crowd during a tour that has become one of the most closely followed live music events of 2026. Now, think about what comes next. MetLife Stadium still has more Bruno Mars nights ahead. The August 22nd show is only the second of 4 scheduled performances at the venue. The remaining dates are August 25th and August 26th. That creates another layer of anticipation. Was tonight's return a one-night surprise? Will Dance With Me remain in the encore? Could Bruno change the ending again? Will the next MetLife audience hear the same song? Or will night 45 remain special because this was the night the song came back? Those questions are now part of the excitement. And this is exactly how a stadium tour creates mythology. Not through one giant announcement, not through one viral headline, but through little moments that fans remember. A surprise guest, a different outfit, a different song, a different encore, a different reaction from the crowd. And sometimes, one song returning is enough to make an entire night feel historic. Now bring Karol G back into the picture. Her own tour is moving through stadiums at the same time. Her new album is receiving attention internationally. Her collaboration with Bruno Mars has already become a major talking point. And just days before Bruno's MetLife performance, the two artists had shared a stage in Los Angeles for Still. So when Bruno walked back onto the MetLife stage and Dance With Me became the encore, fans naturally started thinking about the emotional connection. Not a confirmed romantic connection, not a secret message, not proof of anything beyond the music. Just a musical connection. And sometimes that is even more powerful. Because Bruno Mars has always been at his best when the audience can put their own story inside the song. That is what makes Dance With Me work as an encore. The song does not tell the audience exactly what to feel. It invites them to feel something. And tonight, the invitation came at the perfect moment. The show was ending. The crowd was exhausted. The lights were ready to change. But Bruno wasn't finished. One more time, the stage came alive. One more time, the audience responded. One more time, Bruno Mars reminded everyone why his live performances remain such a powerful part of his career. And suddenly, night 45 had its final image. Bruno Mars. MetLife Stadium. Dance with me. A sea of fans. A stadium full of movement. And a romantic atmosphere that feels especially relevant after his recent musical chapter with Karol G. That is the payoff. Not a scandal. Not a secret confession. Not a confirmed message. Just a remarkable coincidence of timing and emotion that fans can interpret for themselves. And perhaps that is exactly why this moment feels so special. Because Bruno Mars does not need to explain every emotion. The music does that for him. Tonight, Dance With Me returned. And whether you came to MetLife Stadium for the hits, the choreography, the new album, the nostalgia, or simply the experience of seeing Bruno Mars live, the final message was simple. The night was not going to end quietly. It was going to end with a dance. And somewhere in the background of pop music's biggest conversation right now is Karol G, whose new collaboration with Bruno Mars has already given fans another reason to watch every romantic moment of this era a little more closely. Still brought Bruno and Karol together in Los Angeles. Dance With Me brought Bruno back to the center of the MetLife Stadium stage. Different songs, different nights, but both moments reveal the same thing. Bruno Mars understands how to turn romance into a live experience. And if Night 45 has taught fans anything, it is that the encore can sometimes become the most talked about part of the entire show. The final note may have faded. The lights may have started to rise. The crowd may have begun heading toward the exits. But the conversation is only getting louder. Because now everyone wants to know what Bruno Mars will do next. Will Dance With Me stay? Will the next MetLife night bring another surprise? Could Bruno and Karol G cross paths again? Or was tonight simply one unforgettable night in the romantic tour? For now, there is no official answer. But there is one thing we know. Night 45 at MetLife Stadium ended with Bruno Mars bringing Dance With Me back to the encore. And that alone was enough to send fans into another wave of excitement. And after the emotional story surrounding Still, it is understandable why so many people are asking whether the moment reminded them of Karol G. Maybe it did. Maybe it didn't. But that is the magic of Bruno Mars. He gives the audience the song. The audience gives the song a memory. And tonight at MetLife Stadium, that memory belonged to Dance With Me. If you were watching Night 45, the question is simple. Did you feel that Bruno Mars had brought the romance back? Because after everything that happened this month, the timing could hardly have been more interesting. Bruno Mars is back. Dance With Me is back. The romantic tour is moving forward. And the Bruno Mars and Karol G story is still unfolding. So if you want to follow every update from the romantic tour, every major Bruno Mars performance, every new Karol G moment, and every surprise that could happen next, make sure you stay with us. Because after tonight, one thing is certain. The encore is no longer just the end of the show. It is part of the story. But the story of Night 45 does not end when Dance With Me fades away. In many ways, that final performance only opens another chapter. Because when an artist brings back a song that fans have been watching closely throughout an entire tour, the reaction can become almost as important as the performance itself. And at MetLife Stadium, the reaction was impossible to ignore. The audience had already experienced a full night of Bruno Mars. They had watched the production build from the opening moments. They had danced through the biggest hits. They had screamed through the familiar melodies. They had watched Bruno move effortlessly between modern pop, R&B, soul, funk, and the timeless romantic sound that has become one of the defining characteristics of his career. Then, just when everyone thought the night was reaching its final chapter, the energy shifted again. Dance With Me returned, and suddenly, the audience was not simply watching an encore. They were participating in it. That distinction matters. A great stadium show can impress people. A great Bruno Mars show makes people move. And Dance With Me is almost designed for that exact purpose. It creates an atmosphere where the distance between the stage and the audience feels smaller. The enormous MetLife Stadium suddenly feels less like a football venue and more like one enormous dance floor. Thousands of people moving at the same time. Thousands of voices reacting to the same beat. thousands of phones capturing the same final moments, and Bruno Mars standing in the middle of it all. That is the visual fans are going to remember from Night 45. But there is another reason the return of Dance With Me has generated so much conversation. Fans have been paying extremely close attention to Bruno's setlist throughout the romantic tour. When you follow a tour for dozens of nights, small changes stop feeling small. A song disappearing can become a headline. A song returning can become a headline. A different arrangement can become a headline. And an unexpected encore? That can become the defining moment of an entire concert. This is especially true when the song carries romantic energy. Bruno Mars has built an extraordinary career around songs that can sound completely different depending on the moment in which you hear them. A song about love can feel joyful at one concert and heartbreaking at another. A dance song can suddenly feel nostalgic. A familiar chorus can bring back memories that have nothing to do with the person standing next to you. That is the power of live music. And Dance With Me tonight became a perfect example. The song was not just being performed. It was being experienced. Now think about the timing again. Bruno Mars and Karol G had recently shared the stage in Los Angeles for Still, creating one of the most talked about crossover moments of this current era. Karol G's new album has placed her emotional storytelling at the center of attention, while Bruno's presence on Still gives the project an unexpected bridge between Latin pop and his own signature sound. That collaboration is important because it demonstrates how naturally Bruno can enter a different musical environment without losing the qualities that made audiences fall in love with him in the first place. His voice remains recognizable. His phrasing remains recognizable. His sense of rhythm remains recognizable. But when paired with Karol G, the emotional texture changes. And perhaps that is why fans are listening differently now. When Bruno performs a romantic song after collaborating with Karol G, people naturally start wondering whether there is a deeper connection between the moments. Again, there is no official confirmation that Dance With Me was brought back because of Karol G. There is no verified statement from Bruno saying that the encore was connected to their collaboration. So the safest conclusion is also the simplest one. Dance With Me was a powerful encore choice. The Karol G connection is a fan interpretation created by timing, emotion, and the recent visibility of their collaboration. And honestly, that is enough to make the conversation interesting, because the best fan theories do not always require a secret. Sometimes they begin with two genuine moments that happen close enough together to make people wonder. Los Angeles. Still. Bruno and Karol G. Then New Jersey. MetLife Stadium. Dance With Me. That sequence alone is enough to make people start connecting the emotional dots. And the bigger story is that Bruno Mars is currently living inside one of the most romantic eras of his career. The romantic tour is not simply a collection of performances. It has become a massive traveling celebration of his musical identity. The old Bruno is there. The new Bruno is there. The romantic Bruno is there. The performer who can command an enormous stadium with nothing more than a microphone and a band is there. And the artist who can suddenly make the same stadium feel intimate is there too. That combination is rare. Very few performers can make tens of thousands of people feel as though they are part of the same private moment. Bruno can. And the encore is where that ability becomes especially obvious. Because by the end of a concert, the audience has already given everything. Their voices are tired. Their legs are tired. Their phones are almost out of storage. But when the encore begins, something strange happens. The energy returns. People who were preparing to leave stop walking. People in the concourses turn around. People who were already outside start listening from a distance. And inside the stadium, the final wave of excitement begins. That is exactly what makes an encore powerful. It is unexpected even when everyone knows it is coming. And tonight, Dance With Me gave that final wave a romantic soundtrack. But there is another layer to the story. The romantic tour has already crossed multiple countries and major stadiums, and every city creates its own personality. That means the same Bruno Mars song can become a completely different experience depending on where it is performed. New Jersey has its own energy. MetLife Stadium has its own history, and Bruno's audience knows exactly how to make a major concert feel enormous. So when the opening notes of Dance With Me returned, the response was not simply a reaction to the song. It was a reaction to the location, to the moment, to the fact that this was night 45, and to the realization that they were witnessing a version of the show that would never happen exactly the same way again. That is what fans often forget about live concerts. Even when the setlist looks familiar, no performance is truly identical. The crowd changes.